This brings to order the zoning board of appeals meeting, Southampton Village. It is
comes to us.
July
We don't have to give it
25th,
to them the other hand.
2019. We will have the attention of everyone. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes, June 27th?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And aye.
Guess it wasn't a purpose.
Pending decisions, 3039, Scott Tegedoff. No, that's not nice. Take it off, perhaps. I don't know. We have a decision to, a motion to accept that decision.
I move that we accept the decision as written.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And aye. 3042, Captain's Neck 1 LLC. Do we have a motion on that one?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And aye. We're skipping to 3040, Toomey Latham. Is there a motion to accept the reconsideration?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I'll entertain motions to adjourn 304. Sorry,
Did you do 40?
46.
we just did 40.
40, okay.
Toomey Latham, I call it Toomey, you say Tomey, I say Toomey. Entertain a motion to adjourn 3046.
So moved.
I'm going to do them in block.
Okay.
So just for the record, that is an application where you close the record already, and the applicant is requesting, consenting to this board not making a decision, more or less consenting to the time period in which you have to make a decision. And
Right.
the rationale, according to the letter, is that they may be asking to either reopen or perhaps renotice to alter or modify the relief that was requested.
Understood. Thank you. Motions to adjourn 3007, 3012, 3036,
What's your
and 3049.
Are we going to deny
We'll
that?
do that next.
So moved.
No, wait a minute, you said 3007?
Yeah, you
The spur.
read that, so that one, we're not going to...
Oh, I'm sorry. I got you. Okay,
Do it again.
we'll do it again for adjournment.
3036, right?
3036, 3049. Is there any other?
3037.
Well, 3037 and 3045 in that case.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, first,
Just so you know, on 3049, you don't have the posting and the mailing, is that correct, Council? Yes. So it's not a matter of adjourning it. They have to post and mail to get jurisdiction.
okay.
But if there's anybody here that wanted to be heard on that case, other than the applicant,
No, I'm doing
you need to know that will be on the next
307
agenda.
and 312.
Okay.
That's 3049.
Correct.
So,
Anything further, Council?
sir? Okay, everything good?
So we requested it be put over to 822. So we can.
That's
slide in. This
understood.
is-
Understood. All right. All right.
So you have to get post and mail.
Post and repost and mail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, the first pending,
No, you gotta
sorry,
do
we
302.
want, is there a motion to deny without prejudice 3007?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And aye. Is there a motion to deny without prejudice 3012? Danielson?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
And aye. All right, first case to be discussed is 3043, Rutherford's, 33 Layton Avenue.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Gary Jane Asado, 21, Burke Flanagan Asado, 21 South Main Street for the applicant. At the last hearing where it was raised by Mr. Greenwald as to whether the proposed GFA exceeded what was allowed in connection with the decision At the time, I was looking at some prior plans, and it appeared that it may be over the GFA. But since then, Mr. Brian Brady, who's here, has gone back and remeasured all of the house, including taking into account the ceilings that were height of below 7.5 feet versus over 7.5 feet. And he submitted his calculations to the board. I believe that Gil submitted them. But prior to even doing that, he went over with the building department to make the assessment that he was calculating that GFA correctly. And from those calculations, taking into account the ceiling heights, it's been determined that even including the dormer, when the proposed 64 square feet, the maximum GFA for the site that's allowed is 2,740.8 square feet. And the total proposed GFA, including the dormer, when added to the existing GFA, is 2,696.24 square feet, which is below the maximum allowed. So Mr. Grunwald raised a good point, and at first we were, as I said, we thought it was over, but upon careful re-examination, including actual measurements of the existing building now, it has been determined that the proposed dormer addition will not exceed the GFA that's allowed. I will recap. I believe that last time we discussed.
So, Mary Jane, the last thing I have in the file is a letter from Gil, 2 letters, July 10th and July 16th.
There's a July 22nd, 2019 letter that was delivered with the stamped calculations showing the GFA allowed. I mean, they're stamped and sealed. And before this was submitted, Brian did go in and sit down with the building department to go over these calculations to determine that they agreed with these. And I believe, and Brian can speak for himself, they said that they were done accurately. And I believe that was the only outstanding issue because, as noted, this is the MF20, and right adjacent to it, 2 doors down, is 7.5 residential. If this was in 7.5 residential, this is a single-family dwelling, not a multifamily dwelling, then we would not be needing the front yard variance. The majority of the houses here are single-family dwellings, and they are non-conforming as well. And I believe that the board was satisfied that the variance would not change, alter the character of the neighborhood, would not create unnecessary undesirable economic detriment to the adjoining neighborhood, et cetera, that the 5-prong test was met, but that, as Mr. Greenwald legitimately raised, that since there had been changes to how we calculate GFA allowable, including the pool house, by the way, which is included in the calculations, we are within the maximum allowed.
On my notes, I think we had closed this pending this information, isn't it? No, I did cross that out.
We held it open because we had to
Okay.
maybe amend the entire application to re-advertise and re-notice and republish. So it's been determined that that is not necessary.
So I did find a copy of that letter for the record.
I don't have a problem with it now.
And their sealed calculations
Yes, I see
are there.
that.
Okay.
Anything from the board? Any questions?
I have a question for
Sure.
Mary.
Okay.
So the notice that was published said that you were asking for a southern front yard setback of 27.7 feet for the dormer. And I'm looking at the survey, and it appears the setback's 29.2 feet?
No, I believe that the variance that was actually, that was asked was a variance front yard setback of 27.7 feet, okay, from Layton Avenue for the dormer. But actually, when Gil later realized that the dormer is set back a bit from the, and that was a letter on the June 26th letter, where
Right.
it says, the front yard setback request for the proposed dormer is, as set forth in the application, is 27.7 feet. Actually reflects a setback from the street of that portion of the existing house where the proposed dormer would be located. And the dormer itself is actually set back 1.5 feet further from the street. That is 29.2 feet rather than 27.7 feet, meaning lesser relief is now being requested. And that was on his June 26th 2019
Right.
letter.
I'm just trying to have you recap and confirm that.
Yes.
And just associated with that is, as was noticed in the relief, is that you're seeking, because this is a pre-existing non-conforming situation, and the property had received prior relief towards the 50% limitations, that you were seeking this board.
53.3%.
Okay, so that's the question, because the notice was at 53.9, and I didn't see that in Gil's letter. So it's 53.3%?
I believe the application and the calculations indicate that we are requesting the expansion, in other words, 53.9, which is slightly in excess of the 50%. So it's 53.9%. Previously, there had been a 49.9%, and that's why he submitted the two decisions that said the board does, it has been established that the board has jurisdiction to grant above 50, but, you ask that there be, obviously greater scrutiny.
So the number's still 53.9%?
Yes.
Okay.
Questions from the floor? Closed for decision. Can I get a motion to that effect?
I move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And aye. Thank you. 3044, Constance Hunter, 170 Pulaski Street, for the applicant.
Mary Jane Asado, Brookline Asado, 21 South Main Street, for the applicant. On this application, Mr. Guswitz had concerns regarding the access, and because it was really narrow at the beginning, there were window wells adjacent to the house, and there was an existing hedge, which obviously, as he noted, and I realize that, is that hedges grow, and they actually create a further intrusion. Asked Mr. Brady and the owner to reconsider, and I believe that as a result of that, there have been modifications made to the site plan, and the window wells have been removed and have been adjusted. And although you also asked for certain other notations be made, and the Borowski Land Surveying, the surveyor, made all of those changes, and those prints were submitted to this board for review. I believe that your concerns were addressed. I mean, the window wells have been relocated. They are not on that side of the proposed driveway. As noted earlier in the prior hearing, there was a shed previously in the backyard that had been removed. And this proposed garage is really there for, so that the owners can store their car out, off-season in a sheltered place. The proposed garage, if you look at the adjoining properties, if they back up into the neighbors' rear yards, it's not going to be offensive. I mean, it's not intruding. In fact, I believe one of the properties has a shed on their side of in this corner, sort of confluence of the properties, and therefore it's not adjacent to any sort of living area. I believe that the revisions that were submitted address the concerns that you had. If you have any further questions as to design, Mr. Brady is here.
So Mary Jane, did you provide us copies? So the CO originally had a one-story frame garage and a shed in the rear of the property, and now the survey says one-story pool house. Is there a permit for the conversion of the
one-story
garage?
pool house, there is a permit for that. In fact, that was, there were...
Did you provide us with copies of that?
Yes, hold on a second.
I think the pool's built there.
And is there a bathroom in that pool house?
The existing...
I could see this building. And I think I could see just the edge of this.
I believe that Gil submitted
Yes, he did, actually.
the building permit as well. I mean, that was done with a building permit. That conversion was done with the building permit as well as, in other words, that conversion was documented at the building department. I believe that, I'm looking for it here, that there were copies submitted to you already on that, that conversion, as well as the swimming pool, which has a CO.
Second on
8.4.
Hold on, let me find it. I only brought part of the file.
Non-conforming as to setback.
Busy back there.
Plus then there's 2 non-conformings. This house is here.
Hold on.
This is supposed to create your own hardship. That's the question,
I mean, there's a 5-foot separation.
not me.
Right, without the garage, I'm not too bad, right?
Where you start.
Here it is. Swimming pool and spa, rebuild, non-conforming, garages, pool house. That was building permit 12694, dated December
bigger than that.
13th, 2018. I have it on the property cards. I believe Gil submitted. If you would like for me, as I said, I mean, I'm reading it off your property card, off the building department's property card.
We actually have a copy of a building
Yes.
permit,
Okay, so,
but there's some questions I think the board has regarding that building permit.
okay.
Well, can you first, first, as far as the written record, can you submit the plans for the pool house? You must have some floor plans. It was built. No, I mean,
But
just,
Brian, what is in that pool house?
Well, what was in the pool house?
It was just a big barn on there. And now there's,
Garage?
it had garage doors on it, but it was never really used as a garage when my client bought it. It was just a big open barn.
But it had a CO as a garage, right?
Probably.
And there was
it
a
had garage
driveway.
doors, yeah.
I'm just looking at the survey that was, it had a driveway, gravel driveway, and it was listed as a one-story frame garage.
That makes sense, yeah.
And
Well, the garage
what's the size
existed
of
in
that?
87.
What was the size of that building?
I think it's about 800 square feet.
House conversion?
And that exceeds
Did we give him a variance for
the
that?
size of a garage ordinarily?
I don't-
Yes.
I don't remember that.
520 would be.
So this was a garage and it became a pool house.
Right.
So the garage was legal, they had gotten a variance for the garage?
I see from the property cards here that the building permit for the garage was issued, it says building permit 3972, February 3rd, 1987.
The
Or did they get a variance
Yes.
then?
And then it says that the building permit 12694, which is dated December 13th, 2018, shows that this was for the swimming pool and spa that's built there, and to rebuild the non-conforming garage as a pool house.
So you got a permit for that?
Yes.
So you had to change the use, you didn't get a variance for that?
It says that it was done without a variance.
And was to rebuild, totally reconstruct?
Well, renovate, reconstruct,
New roof on
non-conforming.
it.
Wouldn't they need a variance to change of use?
Well, that's my normal understanding is that's what's required anytime you alter or modify a non-conforming structure.
We had our final inspection today, actually.
I don't know if they should have issued you the permit without coming to us first. Might have been a mistake on the building department's. Change the use in a non-conforming location.
You know, I've converted many garages to pool houses, and I've never gotten a variance.
Are they all non-conforming locations?
I'd say a good part of them are, but most of them were within the size limit.
So in December, though, your client had a garage, and now he converted his garage to a pool house, and now you're asking this board to approve a garage in a non-conforming location.
Correct. And the reason is when we had the ARB approval for the garage, it was centered on the pool. And at that time, the building department allowed the setback to be 5 feet. Now with the setback being 10 feet, we can't move that garage into the pool. So we're asking to push it back.
I understand.
The garage was at one point supposedly going to be forward, so that this variance wasn't
What's the
required.
accessory setback? in that
feet,
zone?
10 feet. So it was originally set to be 5 feet at the time when this whole overall plan was developed, and then things changed, the rules changed, and the pool was constructed centered on the back converted pool house building. And so now they have to pull the proposed garage into the corner because they can't meet the separation from the swimming pool and meet the 10-foot distance.
What's the setback for a pool house from the rear yard?
Any accessory structure is 10 feet
10 feet.
in this zone.
Okay, so here you have 4.
8.5 for the pool house.
Is it 8.5?
8.5.
I'm having trouble reading.
That's the pre-existing non-conforming
Right.
situation.
But we're keeping the new garage at the 10 feet and just asking for side yard relief.
And Brian, you said the garage, or the former garage, now pool house, is how many square feet?
It's on the larger side, I think it's closer to 800.
I don't have plans for that garage. Hold on. Let me see here. I don't see the plans for that garage. So you're asking for plans for the interior of the converted pool house? Is that what
Yes.
you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like, and, you know, correct me if you don't think this is accurate, but the pool house is non-conforming with respect to the setback and with respect to the size.
Yes.
Conforming would be 520 square feet. This is an 800 square foot pool house.
It's actually 710, I just found it.
Okay, so this is a 710 square foot pool house instead of a 520 square foot pool house, and it's non-conforming with respect to the rear yard setback. And
And the GFA of it will count in the GFA of the new house.
and your plan is to build a new house?
Yes.
Why not put a garage in the new house?
Because they want the floor area to live in.
Yeah.
They don't want to live in a garage, but, you know, that's what
No,
they're
but
after, so they
it's
want
not-
everything.
It's not counted. The floor area is not counted. If it's part of the house, it's not
Yeah, but
counted
you
as the floor
can't, you
area.
can't gain that floor area if there's a
But then you
garage
have the
there.
garage doors in the front of the house.
Not necessarily. I mean, you're the architect. It's an 88 square foot. It's an 88-foot wide lot. Couldn't you put the garage doors on the side?
You can see the new house on the survey, and you'll see that everything's symmetrical.
This is the okay.
You'll see that the pool is centered on the existing garage, and the house is a U-shape centered on the pool and on the garage. That was the whole design.
I'm still not in favor of this. That's two non-conforming buildings jammed into the back corner and a half acre up against neighbors, and 3 different neighbors in that back corner. And a long skinny driveway that's like 3 feet from the swimming pool. I'm like, that you gotta back up to back out of there. And then you're gonna have a car, you have a parking space 3 feet from the swimming pool. I'm not seeing it. This, my opinion, I don't know anybody else's opinion.
Well-
I agree.
Yeah, most of the older houses always had their garages in the back corner, the long driveway.
This is a new house, Brian.
Yeah, but we're trying to preserve some things here.
Now, and you also have an 800 square foot pool house.
Yeah.
710.
I'm sorry, you're right. I watched my, a 710
Which
foot.
we feel should have been brought before us. I don't know why the building department.
Well,
you know.
certainly, obviously, we'll make inquiries with the building department as to and assess that. You're asking the owner to take another hard look, am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If you would kindly adjourn this for all purposes then, so that we can look into the pool house conversion and a garage pool house conversion situation and speak to the owners as well, I'd appreciate it then.
As per the applicant, can we have a motion to adjourn for all purposes?
So moved. Second?
Just before you
Second.
close, is there anybody from the public?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Make sure. Nope. Okay,
Is there a second?
All right,
Was it
thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
Okay. New case. 3047, Peter Young-Vonich. For the applicant.
My name is Siu Liu. I'm the architect for the project.
Submitted. There.
So basically, we're asking for a side yard relief for a detached garage in the backyard, and it's 5 feet we are seeking instead of 10 feet that's required. It's a very narrow lot. It's only 50 feet wide. So after we place the garage, it's kind of hard to make the turn. That's why we are seeking a variance for that. The neighbor on the side where we are seeking the relief from wrote us a letter of support. It should be in the file. And
Which neighbor is that?
to the north.
We have two letters. I'll bring it up. One to the Finnegan, William Finnegan is supportive, and one to the south representing Barbara Wilson is not supportive, pointing out property line stresses.
Could you read the part that not supporting?
Dear members of the board, we represent Barbara Wilson, who owns and resides in the home directly to the south of the applicants at 165 Elm Street. We would like to state for the record that Ms. Wilson has not received a mail notice of public hearing. However, she did become aware of tonight's hearing and was able to review the proposed plan. Because the lots in this area are very narrow and Ms. Wilson's house pre-exists very close to the shared property line, the proposed additions will only be about 12 feet from her home. She is concerned about the increase in the number and size of the windows proposed on the south elevation, which is closest to her home and where the majority of the additions are proposed. Thank you for your consideration of this matter.
I think this letter is addressed to the ARB, right?
You know, you're absolutely correct.
It's not for this particular issue we have here.
It's true. Okay.
So basically, we're just asking the 5 feet setback on the north, on the northwest corner. That's 5 feet from the property line.
Can you rotate that so we can read it? Thank you.
Could we backtrack a little bit, please? So the first thing, I don't see in your application an existing survey or certificate of occupancy for all the structures on the property. You did supply us with a copy of Board of Appeals decision from December of 1972,
Yes.
which allowed an addition to the rear of the house. Of course, we don't have a copy of how or where or what the certificate of occupancy that was granted for that, but one of the things I'm noting, though, is there's a storage shed in that 1972 variance, which doesn't appear to be in the same proximity as the house. There appears to, in the northwest corner of the house, to be some other changes. I'm a little confused as to what all the lines mean or otherwise, and then it appears that that shed was expanded. Are there permits for all those expansions?
I have the property card here. Accessory barn, 1993, the CO for covered porch, brick patio, accessory barn, accessory garage.
You could submit it all to the record, but I would ask that you provide us with a copy of this actual certificate and the survey that accompanies that. Because all you did submit was this 1972 survey that went to the zoning board decision, which certainly shows a garage on the south portion of the property and a shed on the north portion. And certainly what your current survey appears to show some other things going on that, like I said, that shed seems to have grown, and two, the garage that was once on the south side is no longer there, according to your new survey.
The existing survey of the house. The existing survey of the house, this is the main house. The garage is similar to the 1972 location.
Did you submit that survey to the record?
I believe so. Maybe I don't
We don't have
recall.
that. We don't have that survey.
You need this survey?
I don't have it.
Do you think I need
I don't
to?
I don't
believe
believe
you.
that's that one.
Do you need this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would help us understand what is existing, but more importantly, is to go back in the building department records and find what structures have certificates of occupancy or compliance or not. Like I said, the 72 variance that you gave us shows two totally different structures. And it appears on the current one that that shed that was on the north has grown, and the configuration of what was shown to the ZBA in 72, although it was dotted lines and whatnot, somehow seems to be a different configuration on your survey of the existing house.
This map has a shed that's apparently square.
Yeah.
There's
You
like a
mean
10 by
this-
12 shed, and there's like a 14 by 10 addition added to the shed with a cellar entrance.
Outdoor shower and cellar entrance.
Well, I guess I have to search for the record and see what's done in 1993 and also 2005, because it says CO. 1993, there is a CO for covered porch, brick patio, accessory barn, and accessory garage. So I believe things probably was done back then. But I can go dig for the record.
But we don't know. There could have been an accessory shed in 1993, and after that, somebody added to the shed. We don't know that.
And they could have done it with relief or permits.
And they could, a homeowner could have
We need to
added
know
on
that it's
without a
legal.
permit, and that, which would make it an illegal addition. And then you're asking now to make the illegal addition into
And
a pool
convert it.
house.
Yeah, you're also asking to convert that building to storage, and that building's in a non-conforming location.
Yeah, I talked to the
Pool
No,
house.
converting
Storage to a pool house.
I talked to both building inspectors. They said as they always allow it. So
Not
this.
really, because shed is there's no impact with a shed. Stuff is put in a shed, there's no activity in the shed, there's usually no running water, there's, now you're making it a pool house with a foundation, with running water, with, there's activity happening, lights, so it's,
I did have discussion with both inspectors, and they both said it's allowed.
Well, how would you anticipate converting a shed to a pool house? Are you going to take down the shed? Are you going to remove the shed and then just build a pool house in that location, or are you going to actually try
We'll
that?
build it exactly the same. Exactly. I field measure it. It will be exactly the same look.
Are
We
you
won't change it.
reconstructing
now it's
it,
gonna
or are
be-
you
Yeah,
taking?
we'll
So you're tearing
rebuild
it down?
Yeah, we'll rebuild it.
Right, because that shed is not.
Well, then I'd want to see the plan of the shed, and I want to see the plan of the pool house. The roof is the same, the height is the same.
Yes, I
The
do
wall
have
heights are the
plans.
same, you know. there's-
Okay, Can you
So the
submit
first
the
thing you
plans
need to
for the
do
pool
is
house?
establish that it was legal in that configuration as it exists, number one. Number two, if that is legal, it's in a non-conforming location. And like the prior case that was the discussion, you're converting a non-conforming building to a new use. And from what you're describing is that you're not converting the building, you're actually replacing the building with a new building. So we want to make sure that we have all our facts straight and that that building is legal to start with.
Okay. I'll look for the CO for that.
And as long as you're tearing it down, perhaps there's a more appropriate place to put it, you know, possible?
We kind of really like it in this
Oh, you like it?
particular spot.
Good.
I mean, but it's only, am I reading this right? It's 2.6 feet off the property line?
It reads like that.
It's like that?
You're asking to rebuild a pool house 2.6 feet off of the property line.
Exactly like what's it now.
Right. Well, I understand where the shed is right now. And in addition to building a new pool house 2.6 feet off the property line, you're also asking to build another non-conforming structure 5 feet off of the property line.
Correct.
So
So,
you would have two non-conforming structures on this lot.
yes, it was non-conforming in 1972, and there is variance for that.
You have the garage that you're going to tear down, correct?
Yeah, the garage right now is,
But they really don't show it on my survey.
the garage here is right here, and we're moving it. The garage is
We need a
here,
copy
we're
of that.
moving it to that.
There's a dotted line, but it's not.
Yeah, you can see the dotted line here.
Doesn't say existing garage to be removed.
Yeah.
It says driveway to remove.
Yeah, I think he made a mistake with the writing. The driveway part is on the north side, the garage is on the south side.
So, the order of things that you need to provide are a C of O for the
Okay.
shed,
Hold on 1 second.
For all the structures.
Let me
for
write
all
it
the
down.
structures.
Need to provide CO for all structures.
I'd like a copy of the variance that was given for that. Do we have that?
Yeah, copy
We
of
have it in
variance.
1972, but that was for the porch addition off the back.
It's a house addition in the back, and that's where the variance was granted. When they were doing the house addition in the back,
The shed, is
They-
there a permit for that shed?
this one, no, this is what Chris was telling me. This house, the shed and the garage were pre-existing. So when they were doing the addition in the back of the house in 1972, the building department asked them to get variance for these pre-existing non-conforming structures. One is the shed, one is the garage. That's what is submitted. He told me that I must submit that, and he gave me the copy, and that was submitted.
No, what we're saying is that at that time, the shed was a lot smaller than it appears on the current survey.
Did you read the variance? Did they mention the shed?
No, but they showed a survey of what that shed, exactly as was described. It was a square shed, and now it's a rather 26-foot-long shed. Before it was probably only 12-foot long.
You see a little
So the
hit- got a
variance-
little hitch in it?
Yeah, no, I
The
see
variance
that,
did
but-
say about they did say about the storage shed. It said non-conforming condition to wit, 2 pre-existing accessory buildings closer than 5 feet required by law, the garage being 1.75 feet from the property line, and the storage shed being 3.4 feet from said line. Pre-existing 50 feet lot requiring a wet
How
width
many feet
variance.
was the shed?
It's as shown on this survey.
Yeah, but she,
This one says 3.4.
3.4? Because
Yeah.
on the
That's what
plan,
it is
it
on
said
the survey.
2.6.
2.6.
I know.
Yes.
The survey shows 3.4.
So it
Okay.
seems to me there's some kind of discrepancy between this old survey and the new one.
They could have replaced the shed, just put it back in closer to the property. People get rid of sheds and put new ones in all the time.
Could be, but the point is that shed grew from a 12 by,
Right.
10 by 12 shed to a 10 by 26 foot
26.
So
shed.
something, a couple, besides being closer to the line, it's grew. So,
If I can find the CO for it, then must have been approved, right?
If there's a CO,
Yeah.
there's a CO.
Yeah, I'll go look for the CO or permit for
and can
the
you get
shed.
a copies of that survey that,
Okay, the copy of existing condition
Yeah.
survey.
yeah.
And
A lot on this piece of property. It's less than 10,000 square foot in area. There's awful lot of stuff jammed into it. And we don't know how the shed got bigger.
And there's
It
two.
didn't grow by itself.
There's two accessory buildings that are problems. You need variances for two accessory buildings, right?
The shed and the garage?
If the shed
5 feet.
already has the CO, then
Yeah.
it would not need a variance then.
No, but you're replacing it.
You're changing the use, too.
Your survey is inaccurate. It isn't converting the existing building. You just indicated you're replacing the building. Is that true?
We could, if it's causing trouble, we can fix it instead of replacing
Let's
it.
start with figuring out what's legal and what's not legal, and then you can start from that point. I think it would be important also, while you're here, to describe the pyramid relief that you're asking for as to the dwelling.
Okay, the pyramid relief, at the beginning, I thought we needed, and then later on, the building inspector determined that the pyramid relief is not needed. The reason is that I actually have a copy of the code.
It's the existing building.
How many do you have, please? The code is 11612E, number 7. It says, notwithstanding any provision in this pyramid law to the contrary, in the case of a lawful existing one-family dwelling have a height in excess of height limitation imposed by this pyramid law, the height of any additional improvement thereto may exceed the height limitation imposed by pyramid law, provided that the height of such additional improvement does not exceed the maximum height limitation set forth in the table of dimensional regulations, and provided that the height of such addition or improvement does not exceed the height of the highest point of the roof of such existing one-family dwelling. So we do meet this criteria. So the building inspectors, both of them, said that we do not need the pyramid. We do not need the pyramid relief. It's conforming.
Did the building inspector give you anything in writing to that effect?
Chris said he's putting something in the file. He did say that.
But we don't have that, so I would suggest if you're going
On your
to
list.
have that position, you need to get that as well on your list of things to provide us.
But I don't know if it's on your list yet. Photos of the shed as it exists now and floor plans of the pool house as proposed would be helpful to look
Existing
at.
and proposed.
Right. I don't know if they have floor plans. If you have floor plans for what's there, otherwise photos. If you don't have floor plans for what's there, then the proposed floor plans.
Same with the garage, the existing garage. You don't see it on there, it's a dotted line, but in
Yeah.
the current survey, there's an existing garage pretty much in the location of where the swimming pool is.
Correct.
proposed pool is.
Do you have plans for the proposed one-story garage as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you submit those?
I have copy of the garage.
I saw the plans.
Oh, okay.
You got that in there?
That's the garage.
There's one for,
I don't know. That's the-
Can you explain what the doors or windows on the east elevation of the garage?
There are doors.
Glass doors?
Yeah, just,
And then you have doors on the south elevation as well?
Garage doors.
that's garage door. On the east elevation, there's sliding doors because it's facing the house, so we want it to look pretty.
So you could look through the glass doors and see the car?
You could, if you have a nice car, you
you
probably
just
would.
didn't want to see the blank
Car's gotta
wall,
be
you
pretty.
wanted to see,
Something pretty. Yeah, it's commonly done. You know, for all my garages that facing the swimming pool, I have doors there. And it's not like uncommon, and it's approved left and right.
So there's no water going in the garage?
No,
Have you done, also, I don't know if we're going to get to this, but you might want to double check, because the pool house GFA is included in
Yeah.
that we have a GFA calculation.
absolutely. The 271 I added to the total GFA.
To the GFA, okay, because I haven't seen any GFA calculations. Do you
they
have
should,
them?
that should be done by a licensed person, too.
Architect.
Yeah. Oh,
We have
so-
one.
You thought I was a homeowner?
Yeah.
I wish I was a homeowner. No, I did the calculation.
Okay.
It sounds like you have a little homework to do.
Yes. So I would think, I'm just going to repeat what's asking me. CO of all structures, copy of existing condition, the survey, and ask for Chris's letter that's supposed to be part of the ZBA file, and photos of the existing shed, floor plans of pool house, and existing garage.
Yeah,
And
floor plans and elevations of the pool house.
Is there
pool
some-
house, because I already did the garage.
Sure.
So the floor plans and elevations
for
of
the-
pool house.
For the proposed pool
What,
house.
Yeah.
what is going under the pool house?
A crawl space for equipment.
Crawl space.
That's, it's 5 feet maximum. You're not allowed to go any more. That's by code. So nobody can use it.
Thank you. Which, yeah.
But we did
But I
want
also
you to see that, I think the general impression is that we're trying to put too much on this property. You know, that there's going to be proposed too many non-conforming structures on this property.
Just think one other thing you had added before is pictures of the existing shed and the existing garage.
Yeah, I will put in
I
the
didn't-
picture.
Here you repeat that.
Actually, I do have the pictures. Let me see if I can find
Submit
them.
them all at once,
Well,
some sort
Have
of,
copies for everybody anyway.
I have it here. The pictures of the shed. Oh. Actually, it's not very complete. It's right here.
That's the shed.
It goes on. It's This is part of it, and there's another piece.
She said, oh.
And that's the garage.
Anything else from the board, the attorney, the floor?
I just would ask you to accept my attorney's letter. I know it was submitted to the ARB, but it's also, I'm asking the
I'm sorry,
ZBA.
could you come and introduce yourself? I'm sorry. It's for the video.
No need to, there's no microphone at the podium.
You can just,
Hi, Barbara Wilson. I just would like to state I'd ask you to adapt my attorney's letter. I know it was addressed to the ARB. I did not get a mailing until yesterday on this matter. And so, and just like the ARB meeting where I didn't get a mailing. So I would ask that you accept that letter for the record as far as the service and as far as the concerns that I have.
okay, you do understand that it's not really a zoning matter that you're asking. I mean, we'll take in consideration, but there's no variance requested for that. Is that correct?
There might be a pyramid law variance.
For the up, I imagine, it's the upper floor that's going to be added abutting your property, windows included.
I'd really rather have my attorney speak for me.
Yes, I think that would be appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing? Miss Wilson's house is right here. It's right on the property line. We are about 15 feet from her right now. What we're proposing is about 12 feet. So it's definitely within the zoning requirement, and it's allowed.
Okay, we'll be hearing the argument, I guess, from Ms. Wilson's attorneys, and we'll respond to that.
But what's the setback on the side yard?
10 feet.
So you're within.
Yeah, I am within the required setback. And the pyramid, as I said, was applied in error, and it shouldn't be needed. Because the addition is lower than the main house, and it's lower than what is required. And the house was pre-existing before the pyramid law.
Right. So it doesn't add to the pyramid problem, correct?
I'm
In height,
just following
All right.
the rule.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Anything else other than what I just cited that I need to bring in next time?
Hopefully, that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So one of the
I'm
things-
sorry,
I do have
for
a
the
question.
floor, oh, sorry.
This is the homeowner.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Leah Yangonich. I'm one of the homeowners. I just wanted to ask, you feel like there's too much on the property? And
If what's being proposed is basically two non-conforming structures, you would be asking for a non-conforming garage
got it.
plus a non-conforming pool house 3 feet off of the property line, where now it seems like you have a shed, which
Yeah.
we're questioning how it expanded and whether or not it was expanded with, the proper approvals. So the combination of two non-conforming structures is my concern. Frankly, less so than the pyramid.
Okay. I guess because when we were drawing it out, because the shed's already there and the garage is already there, and we're just trying to move it so we can place the pool. So the two structures are already there. We're just kind of moving them.
Right, but this...
Both of the
Yeah.
structures are non-conforming right now. None of them meet setbacks at the moment. And we're just trying to rotate the garage out of the way so we can have a backyard. Because the garage right now is smack in the middle of the backyard.
But I'm not convinced that if you want a pool house, you wouldn't be able to put one in a conforming location on the property rather than converting that shed.
That's possible.
So
Also, does the
to us,
pool,
it might be better to get rid of a non-conforming, which would be the shed, and design a pool house in a conforming location. Now you're making an improvement to the property and eliminating a non-conforming. So
So explore that option.
We're looking to diminish nonconformity. You're asking us to expand nonconformity. So that's the issue.
And your pool is 38 foot long. If it were a little shorter, might it help?
Then you'd have some more room to get the pool house in.
It's only 10 feet wide, so that's why, a little bit length will help.
You can only
Why?
get 10 feet wide there.
It's only 10 feet wide.
It's,
Yeah, because the property is only 50 feet wide, we need 20 feet on either side for the setback, so the pool is only 10 feet wide.
right. I'm not talking about the width. I'm talking about the length. If you shrunk it a little bit, you might be able to maneuver it a little better. But it's up to you to try or
There's some
not.
more room to get the pool house in, a conforming location.
Might.
We're probably going to have a problem with this.
Okay.
Is it more, it's mostly with the pool house?
Yeah,
The combination of all.
yeah. You might be able to build a garage pool house combination
That's
in one
correct.
structure.
If
Oh,
we
you're not
leave it
allowed
as a
to do
shed,
that.
is that okay?
Are we not allowed to do that or allowed to do that?
No, if you do pool house and garage combination,
Yeah?
the whole thing has to be counted as GFA, so basically, it's not allowed, it's not feasible for people to do that anymore.
It's all counted?
Yeah, that's
Because
what I was
thought
told
part
by
of
the
what was going
inspector.
on.
I think the garage is always excluded, but that's something, again, she can clarify with the building inspector if he wants to put something in writing, and we can take that
What it
into
is
account.
if you have a garage, you have to have 5 feet separation before you put a pool house. You cannot have them.
I'm not sure about
Touching.
that.
Check on that because I think we've seen a couple, haven't we?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know one that's under construction now, so,
That's the new thing.
okay.
So the if I have the pool house combined with the garage, there will be no garage exemption. Right now, you have a 520 garage exemption for doing just the garage alone.
Yeah, I
But
would double check
if you
that.
if you attach if you use part of it as a pool house, then the whole thing will be counted as
But that might be a
GFA.
more attractive application by getting rid of that shed,
The smaller lots.
designing a garage and a pool house, even though you needed a variance to do that because the regulations say you can't, that might be a better variance application because you can do everything in a conforming location.
Was to divide that.
So,
Well, the garage, the reason we wanted to have a variance is because it's very hard to make the turn. The whole width of the lot is only 50 feet wide. And then if you have like a 10 feet setback and then 20 feet garage, it's almost impossible to make the turn. That's why we're just asking a 5-foot separation for that particular case. And
Well,
sometimes you can't have everything.
I didn't think it's like a lot to ask because, if a structure that's purely served as a garage is allowed to be 5 feet out of the property line just a few months ago.
that was then.
That was it.
So you have about, I don't know, 23, 4 feet to getting out of the garage. Is that, can't turn around with 23, 4 feet?
We tested it.
We
It is
had-
tight,
We have,
It's tight.
especially for me.
It's tight.
I'm sure it's tight, but do you have vegetation to the south that maybe you don't need, kind of
Well-
thing? I don't know.
when we put it at 5 feet setback, we only get 23 feet for the turn. That's 5 feet setback. If you had 10 feet setback, we wouldn't even have that 20 feet.
We understand that. I understand that at least.
I mean, it's not detrimental to the neighborhood to have the garage closer to the property line, especially the neighbor that's on this side of the property is writing us a letter
I
of support.
understand.
It may
With
be
a
the-
little bit of training,
Yeah.
couldn't you back out and do a thing and get out?
We're Chinese drivers.
Oh, my God. Never
Maybe the
mind.
combination of what you're asking for. We're not certain. But the combination of the garage and the pool house, whereas the pool house, to me, seems, frankly, the more
Noxious.
obnoxious and pushing the envelope more to have a 271 square foot pool house in addition to a non-conforming garage, when a pool house is, is more of a luxury accessory structure. Not everybody has a pool house. A lot of people now, the trend is really to have a pool house as part of your house, not to have a separate structure in your backyard. A lot of people are doing it that way. But, I mean, you're a talented architect. There's numerous other ways to possibly accomplish a pool house. It seems like you're kind of pushing it by saying we have this non-conforming shed which may or may not have all of the necessary permits, and we're actually going to remove this shed and we're just going to use the non-conforming setbacks to build a whole new structure. That seems like a little bit too much of a push for me.
But it is being allowed left and right in the building department, so I feel like it's a little bit, I was telling the building inspector this is what we're gonna do. I told both building inspector and didn't think this should be part of the ZBA application.
That you are going to take down this shed completely and build a brand-new structure just using the 2.7
Yeah.
foot setback.
171.
We might have to talk to them.
What?
We might have to talk to them.
Okay.
But as far as the garage, the 5-foot variance for the garage, do you have big concerns about that? Because that really is kind of necessary for the car path.
I think it's premature to determine that until we know the entire picture.
C of O for the shed is number one, so work on those things.
Yeah. I'll
Right now you
I gotcha.
access the garage directly coming into the property,
Heading,
correct?
yes.
That works.
It works.
Yeah, but there's no yard.
Yeah, because it's in the middle of the yard.
But what variance is to see the benefit outweigh the law, if the benefit to the homeowner is not detrimental to the environment, to the neighborhood, and it is improving, why not? That's what I'm saying.
Well, what about self-imposed?
What do you mean by
Self-imposed.
we didn't
Well,
ask,
that's one of
what's
the-
not self-imposing ourselves with the garage,
Well, you just,
May I say one other thing? I know Mr. Highsmith said something about an old map the other day at the ARB. I
Yeah.
don't really pretend to understand what that means, but
Okay, I
I just
can
wanted to
explain.
mention that.
I can explain. The house, in the front of the house, right in the front, I have here, right, right here, this portion was built in a very long time ago, so it was on a map that's in the building department, was on the old map, but we're not touching that part. So it's more of a historic preservation kind of question. That's why Mr. Highsmith asked if the house is old, and yes, I said yes, and then, but we're not changing it in the front. That's in the front.
Did you decide anything yet at the ARB, or it's still pending there?
It's still pending. We had a meeting on Monday. The board asked us to make certain changes. We'll listen very carefully, and we're gonna, heed their advice and do what we have to do.
okay, but that refers to the main house.
That mostly refer to the main house.
The garage
They have
is
nothing. They have nothing to really comment it on to us in the meeting, because the structures in the back normally they don't. They normally don't comment on it. They're more interested in the front facade where
I
people
understand.
see.
Okay,
Concerned with what faces the street.
Yeah, so basically it's for the neighbors, what we presented to our neighbors. If if what we're asking for is not hurting our neighborhood, be kind to the neighbors, then that's what we're
okay,
trying.
well, you go back and do your work, see if
Yeah,
you can be
I will.
kind to our rules and regs, too.
Yeah, I'll try.
All right,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
any further? No? Is there a motion?
I move that we adjourn this for all purposes.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Three 640 Ox Pasture.
Good evening, Lisa Poyer with InterScience. On behalf of the applicant, 36 Nugent Street, Southampton, 11968. This is a request for a modification to a prior wetland permit. That was decision number 2957. That was dated April 27th, 2017. The house is under construction and pursuant to that permit. The swimming pool is under construction. The tennis court was not under your jurisdiction, but it's under construction. And there's just a couple little minor modifications that the homeowner was looking to do with regards to the location of a detached garage, which received a prior wetland permit. Got the survey here. The original application showed the driveway coming straight in. The garage was orientated 90 degrees, and you basically approached to head on into the garage from the street. This application, they looked to turn the garage 90 degrees so that you would come, and the garage doors are actually facing east. Sorry, looking at it upside down. As part of this application, the driveway itself originally came down here and was located closer to the wetlands. We're actually looking to relocate it further away. This application has some additional site circulation. They wanted to do an additional parking area in the back, kind of a turnaround. Different changes to the approach to the house from the garage. It's got a different walkway, but the tennis court, the main location of the house, and the pool have all remained in the same location. Like I said, it's under construction, so the application includes a comparison table, and it just compares the previously approved setbacks to the current proposed setbacks. So the two-story residence was approved at 75 feet. It was constructed actually at 75.3 feet. The terrace that's on the water side of the house was approved at 67.9 feet. It's now actually constructed at 66 feet. So we're asking for a 1.3-foot relief for just that construction. The detached garage was approved at 135.4 feet. We're looking to construct it now at 132.9 feet. So we're asking an additional 2.5-foot relief for closer to the wetlands. The swimming pool was approved at 82.7 feet. It's constructed at 80 feet, so we're seeking a relief for 2.7 feet closer to the wetlands. The pool patio was originally approved at 78.5 feet. We're looking for proposed at the new application with it under construction at 75.8 feet, so 2.7-foot relief from the wetland setback. Again, the driveway and the parking areas were originally approved at 110 feet. We're looking at 145 feet, so it's an additional 35 feet farther from wetlands. We think that's a big improvement over what was originally approved. And there is a retaining wall that we're looking to construct, which is located right here on the south end of the swimming pool. There's big trees on the neighboring property, and it's at a different grade elevation than what is our property. So we've been working with the neighbor, and they obviously want to keep their trees, the nice trees there. So we're proposing to do a retaining wall here on our lot in order to help adjust with the grades.
You say the pool is in now?
The pool is in.
But someone made a mistake or something like that?
It's off by 2.7 feet.
That's a 2.7-foot mistake?
Closer to the wetland.
Closer to the wetlands.
How do these things happen, you know?
Magic.
It wasn't a planned thing, you know. So we're here seeking additional relief for that.
All right, any questions from the board? The attorney? Or
Just one question. It's indirectly related to this. Your previous plan had a parking court and a driveway that was substantially away from the easterly property line. Now your driveway extends right to it, and then it all extends all the way to the south behind the tennis court. What do you need all that driveway going back there? I mean, beyond the tennis court?
Just additional parking on the property.
And what's adjacent to it on the east? Because it looks like you're putting a
We
gravel.
have a driveway that goes along
Is there a
here.
hedge there?
There's a solid hedge along here. There's a flag strip that goes here and accesses the property beyond.
To the south?
South, yes.
And that hedge is your hedge?
It's right on the property line.
Chick, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I mean, I see all these driveways in the driveway, and it's a sunken tennis court, so I imagine the dry walls are going to even be deeper than the bottom of the tennis court? And what is the test hole depth? Are they going to be, can they actually physically?
That was, sorry, that was approved by both the DEC and the planning board, because we had to go for a tennis court site plan approval. And they reviewed all of that.
So with the garage reconfiguration, that parking was still over there before?
7 feet to the water.
They're showing a 3-foot minimum on the cross-section. Down in the lower right-hand corner. And this was included in the prior permit. That has not changed. And as Lisa said, it went before the planning board as well as this board at that time.
It's just a smaller version of the original.
There is a test hole in the area of the sanitary system, which I think would be representative of the pool area. So based on the cross-section and the test hole, it seems to work. But again, it was all previously looked at and approved.
And the DEC has also reviewed this, and they've issued their approvals as well. The
I just didn't know
modification.
with the garage, if it turned around, is that where the primary, that was there in the, is that where the parking and everything for the garage were and the other configuration? Because now it's all,
You have that.
Yes, it's quite a bit different. The garage previously was centered
On the tennis court.
on the north side of the tennis court. Here's the larger plan. It's the same scale, so this may help. And then you have the new plan that situates the garage in this orientation and puts the driveway over here. But those are the only changes that are proposed.
so they had the driveway going down alongside there before also, then? Yeah.
Not as
No, we
far.
had the driveway just going to the garage.
See here, the garage driveway was over here with a parking court.
What
Didn't
I
go
think
near
is
the
that
property or didn't come all the way in the back.
before they
All the
approved this
drainage
without
was here.
drainage under a
Not up here.
under a parking area or driving area, usually those have to have drive-on covers and,
It will.
so I don't know if that changes the whole aspect of what, what I'm saying, is that driving covers are thicker, do these things go deeper, does it still all work, having all this drainage in all these driveways?
Right. So that's actually
It doesn't
part of one of my questions. And it really,
Your question, Dan, was also the test well shows ground elevation at that test hole where the septic is going at 8.5 feet, in depth the water about 7 feet below that, right?
Yeah, but they've relocated the dry wells further,
And you're sinking the tennis court 3 feet,
right,
and then the drainage structure's got to be below that 3 feet
that's,
with a separation of 3 feet.
right. And then you're going to have to bury this thing below the driveway
You're
grade
running
with
out of-
8-inch drive-on cover, so that's going to be another foot.
Seems to me you're running out of
That's
vertical.
vertical distance.
Well, the house is already up, correct?
House is-
That
yes.
doesn't need any relief, the house
Is
itself.
the tennis court in?
Tennis court is, yes,
That's what it shows on the aerial,
The
yeah.
house is up, that's for sure, right?
yes. They're at final inspection stage right now.
Court at 11 feet.
The tennis court has,
People who are working down there.
I'm sorry?
An army of
Maybe they
people
just have
working
to-
down there.
And the tennis court is in as well.
If they didn't have any driveway going across here. and
So is the
put
tennis
driveway
court
out,
at
put the- move
what
the
was
driveway
proposed
over here.
elevation 11, and is there any further fill being added
Wetlands and sea-
in and around the tennis court?
You know, should this be reviewed again? Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of the
Showing it at
driveway being
9.
farther away from the whetlands.
Oh, that's
does change the
Showing at
Fine.
elevation
But
6 for the
yeah.
tennis court.
Okay.
And we're showing the grade around the tennis court is at 9, so it meets the 3-foot. So you're going over the driveway, the drainage at 9 feet plus a little bit. In that area on the east side of the tennis court where the driveway will go over. So there's enough room for the traffic-bearing grades, covers on top of the dry wells, because you have that 3 feet at least.
Looks like the dry wells are only 1.5 feet deep. Is that what you
Yes.
just indicated?
That's why we had to do 8 of them.
Right.
So if you're down at elevation 6 with the pitch, you still have to meet the separation to groundwater.
So before your plan, you had all the drainage in a side yard
It's still in a,
driveway, but now
Correct.
they're all
They're-
located under the driveway.
it's still in a side yard.
Right, but still, under all of them are now under the driveway.
2 are not, or 2 are, have a tiny little bit partially under.
So one of the other questions I had was, there was a landscape plan that was approved as part of this
Yes.
that included the retaining wall that's proposed in the same location. And that was a Montauk round dry stacked fieldstone wall. So is there any change to that landscape plan?
The plan itself, no. The location of the buffer, no. They're trying to figure out if they're actually going to need to install that wall. It was going to be a dry stack retaining wall. Just due to the approach of the driveway being closer to the wetlands, you needed to deal with the adjustment of the grade. Since the driveway approach is now further away from wetlands, they're trying to, that will be the last thing that they decide, but they may not need to install it, which would be a benefit.
I think that would be fine. I think we would want to know that if we're going to modify the permit.
Okay.
And you're not going to need that retaining wall. I think that should be addressed. And also, I think that the landscape plan, is Dean Gromolka still involved as landscape architect?
I do not know that, but
Okay.
we're adhering to the approved landscaping plan.
But that did show the prior configuration of the driveway, the garage. And so I
Yes.
think just to avoid confusion and have
You
two
want
different
that updated as well?
plans, I
Okay.
think that would make sense. And
Okay.
then, again, if you're going to not need the retaining wall, then let's
Okay.
show that consistent with what you're going to build. And then I think just make sure that the cross-section that's shown for the drainage pools under the driveway, just determine if that needs to be modified
Okay?
based on the fact that it's going under a driveway.
Okay.
In terms of wetlands, I don't see any negative aspects to this. It's slightly better. It's kind of a really an even trade-off because there was a little bit of building area that was within 150 feet before, and I imagine that was considered as part of the overall site and the restoration plan. That's my recollection. So to me, it's kind of a wash in terms of the driveway and the reconfiguration of the garage. But I think just cleaning those things up to make sure they're
Okay.
consistent.
Okay.
And then I just had one quick question. There's really no information about those trees that are being saved.
Okay.
And the height of that retaining wall to the south of the pool. It is in the jurisdiction area, so I think we'd want a little more detail there. Perhaps something on the landscape plan also, once that's been
Okay.
revised, to show what's being saved, what's being removed, and what wall is being created.
And when you say trees to be, do you want the locations of the trees shown
Yeah,
on
I
the survey?
think-
And the
I think
size?
they're showing up on the original landscape plan.
Okay.
So again, if you go back to
We'll just add
Dean
it back to the
Gromolka,
survey.
it may be fairly easy to just bring that up to date and have that show the landscape treatment, what trees are being saved and how that's being done.
Okay.
really just consistency. Does the board have any questions or issues on the driveway or the garage?
Doesn't seem so.
I'm still a little concerned about where that test hole is versus where the test hole with the, it's real far away from where that driveway is, and if they did a test hole there, are the conditions different? It's closer to the wetlands,
A test hole up here? Is that what you're looking for?
It's down in the area of the sanitary system.
Right, the current one is
test hole.
here.
Right.
Right, which is, it seems much farther away from the wetlands than where these dry wells are going.
Okay, so we can install another one.
Just to know, to make sure that,
That's fine. Do you want it up
Yeah,
in this location?
rather than
though?
guessing. I mean, much of the time I look to see if the elevations are consistent and how close it is to surface water to see if I would expect a change. But
I mean, I know this
It's tight,
property,
so-
and I know that the surface water there, especially if it's tidal, it adjusts. It comes up and it goes down. I've seen it on that property, and, you get a nor'easter and it blows a lot of water in there, the water table goes up on
Do you-
that property.
So you're looking, do you want it installed here, at this, the
Yeah,
closer?
where the dry wells are in the parking area in front of the garage.
Okay, no problem.
I think it would be good, Lisa, to clarify if there's going to be any fill added in that area because of any of these issues that are being discussed.
It's fine.
Your office normally does a little comparison of what was approved and what was now proposed. Did you do that in this instance?
There was a table that was
Table?
prepared,
Yeah.
that was submitted.
Okay.
That's what I was reading from earlier.
yeah.
You have that? I don't.
As far as just, that was dealing with setbacks for the larger items. We can add on here as far as the dry well locations, et cetera.
Good.
Anything further? Get a motion to, I'm sure you'd like to adjourn for all purposes?
I move we adjourn the conversation.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I move we adjourn the July 2019 meeting of the Southampton Village Zoning Board of Appeals.
Have a second. All in favor?
got adjourned.
Aye, 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 aye.